Hello Classic Crew, and welcome to today's video where we're going to be talking about how to be classic at every stage. If you are new to my channel, here we talk about classic living and traditional values, and I would love if you would consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. If you haven't already subscribed to my Substack, where you'll get access to a ton of exclusive content, including my book club, my weekly articles, as well as my movie club, which is super cool, make sure to head over to classicallyabby.substack.com. In today's video, I want to talk about how to be classic at every stage. So how you can be classic when you're dating, how you can be classic when you're married before you have children, and how you can be classic once you're a mother. I think it's interesting for me to look back at my earlier videos that I've made for this channel and see the advice that I was giving when I was a newly married woman, as opposed to where I'm at now and how some of my perspectives have shifted. And what's interesting is, initially when I was thinking about this, I was like, well, maybe I was leading young women astray in a sense. I was giving them advice that I don't really hold to now. But then I realized, no, the truth is that at every stage, there are different things that are more and less important for us to focus on. And when you are dating and when you are married without children yet, those priorities are going to look different than when you do have children. And what classic looks like changes and alters a little bit as you go through different stages of life. So I'm really excited to get into today's video, so let's just get started. Okay, let's start with the first stage, when you're single, when you're dating. During this period of your life, being classic starts with improving yourself. You have the time to invest in improving yourself, not only physically and mentally and emotionally, but also culturally and intellectually. You have the time to devote to making yourself the best version of yourself you can be. Now, that's not to say that after you get married and after you have children, you should not be doing these things as well, but you are doing them in the context of a different project, where you are doing it in the context of improving alongside your spouse. You're doing it as you improve in the task and role of being a mother. It's a little bit different than when you are alone, when you're single, you have the time to improve yourself outside of those other factors. So starting with physical fitness, it's very important to get into the habit of physical exercise while you still have the time, so that when you have less time, you know how to get back into it, get the ball rolling, and you're not just trying to figure it out for the first time when you are working on a limited, more difficult schedule. I think it's very important to take care of our bodies physically, and it's very classic at the time when you're dating to focus on your physical appearance. Now, when I say that, I don't mean that you have to be obsessive. I just mean you are dating, you are trying to make a good impression on the opposite sex so that you can find someone to marry and to date. And it's important to focus on being beautiful and really embracing your femininity in that way. The reason I'm focusing on this specifically is that when I was looking at my older videos, I was really focused on how you can be classic in your grooming, how you can do your hair and do your nails and do your makeup to the best effect to bring out your natural beauty. When you are a mom, when you have a baby, the amount of time that you can spend on that is lowered, is a lot less. But when you are still dating, when you're in the early years of your marriage, that stuff is really important, not only for mental health, because I do think it's important to take care of yourself physically, but also because you are trying to attract a man. So being classic does include really focusing on maintaining your beauty. Now, outside of the physical aspect of being classic, you can also focus on those cultural and intellectual pursuits that will make you better and more interesting. So take the time to read, take the time to visit museums. Even if your friends don't want to go on your own. I've done that before, and it's super cool because you can go on your own schedule. You don't have to follow anybody else. You can just sit down, and if you want to sketch for an hour, you can just sketch for an hour. Go to lunch by yourself and get used to taking some time on your own, reading at a table, reading at a cafe. That's always such a lovely way to spend an afternoon. And be involved in friendships and community. Get involved with your church or your synagogue. Join a book club. Shameless plug, join my book club, the Classically Abby book club. But honestly, use your time to its full advantage. And that is being classic at that stage. Now let's talk about being married. Being classic when you're married, when you don't have children yet. Now, when you're maintaining your beauty, you're doing it for a specific person. You're doing it for your husband. So one of the things that you can do to be classic is ask your husband what he enjoys about the way that you dress, about the way that you do your hair, about the way that you do your makeup. I think that you can still play around with certain outfits and certain things that you enjoy more than your husband does, but it's also important to take his kind of feelings and opinions into account. So being classic and maintaining your physical beauty in a classic way, once you're married, is doing things that play up your attractiveness to your husband. So wear the clothing that he enjoys. Do your hair in ways that he likes. If he likes more natural makeup, do that. Don't do the crazy eye looks. I don't mean to say that you can't ever do the things that you enjoy appearance-wise that your husband doesn't, but overall, focus on maintaining your appearance in a way that makes him happy and attracts him to you. So that is one way that you can be more classic once you are married. And also, I think it's important to maintain those things that you did before you were married. You know, continue to shave your legs, continue to exercise, continue to keep up your attractiveness level, because before you're married, you have a lot of time, but even after you're married and before you have babies, you still have a good amount of time. So it's important to really try and keep up your natural beauty. Now, on an emotional level and on kind of a self-improvement level, learn how to be a good wife. Learn how to be a good member of your community now that you're in a couple. I think that once you're married, it's really important to figure out how to navigate being a spouse, living in a house with someone who you've never lived with before, figuring out how to navigate arguments when you've not had disagreements like this before. Those are all really important tasks and things that you should be working on to become more classic along with your husband. So that's how you're classic in that second stage of life, in that stage before you have children, but you're married. And of course, now is the time to improve alongside your spouse. So read together, watch movies together that you can discuss, go out to dinner together and get dressed up and feel beautiful alongside your husband. These are things you can enjoy as a couple, but that are also going to make you better over time. And now let's talk about the stage of life when you become a mother. This is the stage where things start to look a little bit different on your classic journey. Instead of your physical appearance being as important, what's going to be more important than that is how dependable you are. If people can go to you and you can offer them help, if you're responsible, if you're somebody that people can depend on, that becomes the expression of being classic that is so important. Does physical appearance go out the window? No, absolutely not. But there are gonna be times that you don't have time to shave your legs. There are gonna be times where you don't have time to exercise that day. You're gonna have just had a baby and your body takes time to physically recover from that. I know that my body has gone through so many shifts and changes since having a baby just because I'm breastfeeding. And there are times and months where I am perfectly on target with my weight goals, and there are times and months where I am definitely not. There are days where I eat incredibly healthy because I think it's important, and then there are days that I just don't have time to make myself good food that feeds me, and I should, but I don't get the chance. So cut yourself a little bit more slack in the physical appearance department. But what I do think is important is taking time for yourself so that you feel good about yourself every day. I think it is important to continue to keep up with your physical fitness, because when you are chasing after a baby, when you have to carry that baby as he gets heavier, you need to be able to physically do those things. So my physical fitness has kind of ebbed and flowed since having my baby, and now I'm getting back into it once again because I think it's important that I be strong and healthy for my son. But the physical appearance is actually secondary to how physically fit I want to be and healthy I want to be. So I think at this stage of life, especially when you have little babies, little young ones, The classic version of looking beautiful is more about doing it for physical health and doing it to maintain mental health. And the truth is that your spouse is attracted to you in this time for what you're doing for his children, for what you're doing for the children you share. It's less about how hot does my wife look? I mean, that's still obviously important, but it's a little bit less important than, is my wife being an amazing mother to my child? But I do think that it's important to figure out how to take care of yourself during this time, which includes all of the pursuits that we talked about in those earlier stages. I think that if we don't devote any time to mental growth, if we don't devote any time to reading or to doing things that make us feel good about where we're at, then it can often make us feel stagnant. And I think it's really important to find those outlets that will help you grow even when you're tired, even when you are really devoting most of your time to being a mom. And that time is invaluable and incredible. And it is really important and so special and like the best thing you could ever do. But it's also important for yourself to figure out what those things are that help you continue to feel classic. So for me, it's getting up every morning, exercising, putting on a little bit of makeup, doing something to my hair, getting dressed, and being part of my book club, which really helps because I'm reading all the time. And that's the stuff that's making me feel really classic. So that's how being classic sort of shifts and changes over time. And the definition morphs as you change and your time changes and your schedule changes. So I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What stage are you in? Is there a way that you feel like being classic during this stage versus this stage has changed your outlook and perspectives? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and make sure to leave a comment down below. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, make sure to do so and hit that notification bell. I'd love if you'd head over to classicallyabby.substack.com so that you guys can be a part of our community over there. It is so much fun. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.